Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Village of Gurnee Planning and Zoning Board for this Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. Do you have a roll call, please?
Blair.
Here.
Campbell.
Present.
Nordentoff.
Here.
Paff.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
Sula.
Present. We do have a quorum. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get to the published part of the agenda, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome our two newest planning and zoning commissioners, Kathy Blair to my far right. She's been in the area for 38 years. She's a former middle school science teacher. She owns a bakery business, and her two children went through the Warren and Woodland school districts. And to my far left is Chris Stevens. He's been in the village since 1991. He's the retired pastor of the Gurnee Community Church, and he was also the Gurnee Police Department's chaplain. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is opportunity for public comment, and this is for items on the agenda this evening, but excluding the public hearing, because we have special opportunity to speak during the public hearing process. So is there anyone that would like to make a comment about something that's on the agenda? If not, I'll close the floor to the public. Next item on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from the meeting that was held back on May 6th. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or changes? If not, a motion to approve as submitted would be in order.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Campbell, second by Nordentoff. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have a little bit of everything on the agenda tonight. We have a minor sign exception, we have a public hearing, we have an informal review, and we have a text amendment potential review. So it's quite the diverse agenda this evening. The first item on the agenda is a minor sign exception request from the American Legion located at 749 Milwaukee Avenue.
Thank you, Chairman Sula. Mr. Matt Majewski of North Shore Sign Company, on behalf of American Legion Post 771, requests a minor sign exception to increase the height of the existing electronic message center sign from 12 feet to 18 feet within the C2 Community Commercial District. Basically, on August 20th, 2025, the Planning and Zoning Board approved the 12-foot high electronic message center sign for American Legion. American Legion is now proposing to increase the height of the sign by 6 feet for better visibility to westbound Grand Avenue traffic. The bridge located on Grand Avenue has a guardrail that turns into a concrete barrier with an even higher guardrail attached, making visibility difficult. A 6-foot height increase for a total height of 18 feet will allow the westbound and additionally the eastbound Grand Avenue traffic to view the sign without the grand guardrail obstruction. So this is how the proposed sign will look by this guardrail on Grand Avenue. This is the additional height for that sign. And Mr. Matt Majewski is here now to answer or present his case.
If you'd like to come to the microphone and...
Good evening. My name is Matt with North Shore Sign. Be happy to answer any questions.
And just for the benefit of the commissioners, this is a minor sign exception. We have the authority to approve this one at the end of our conversations. I drove past the site, and I totally understand what they're asking for. Does anybody have any concerns? Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I understand their concerns and the challenges of the terrain of the property that they have. When we take a look at the standards that we're asked to measure this against, I'm not quite certain that this falls within the character of the immediate area where they're located. You know, if it's not really like a retail center where we need, or the desire would be to be able to draw people into a center or something like this. I mean, the sign still has the capability to convey all the necessary messages. But really, it's the second part of the purpose of the sign code, which reads that regulations allow for a variety of sign types and sizes based on zoning, land use, and lot building sizes. They do not necessarily ensure that every property owner or business owner's desired level of visibility. So, you know, to ask for a 50% increase in height, to me, doesn't quite match up with what I think under these particular circumstances align with the spirit of it. Just my interpretation of it.
I'll ask staff to just remind us of something. I mean, somewhere down the road, the reconfigured gas station is going to sign like basically right across the street from there.
Yes, just west of the site, yes.
And how tall is that one?
It's,
I think their proposal hasn't come before this board yet, correct?
no, it
It
did.
did.
It did.
It did. I just don't remember the number.
I think it was either 12 or 15. I forget. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't think they requested the
I
entire
can-
18-foot height.
It's on this computer. I can find it real quick.
Okay.
Okay, let me just find it real quick while y'all
I should have wrote
continue to
that
talk.
down. It's definitely not tall. I have a quick question while she's looking up. Is this the minimum height increase that would clear that guardrail?
Yeah, based on looking at it, yes, it is, correct. When we moved the sign, we had to, set it back 10 feet when we moved the sign for this new one, and it's kind of on a slope.
Right.
We lost about 4 feet when we moved it back. So with us all looking at it, 6 feet is right at the minimum.
Okay. I couldn't tell. I mean, it's hard to get the perspective. It is sitting too low. And I do understand because it's sitting down in at that location. You've got the bridge rising, just starting at your property. It does look like it's sitting down low. I don't know how it would compare to the BP sign, but it may not look all that much taller.
What was the height? Can I?
The BP is 15 feet.
They went for a 3-foot minor sign exception on the
Yes.
BP sign.
So they went for 25%.
Big grade change between.
Yeah.
Yes, the Allegiant site sits a little bit lower.
And the roadway is a little bit higher
And
there
the little
too.
roadway starts pulling up for the bridge.
Which is kind of sometimes is deceiving to us in terms of how tall the sign is because we measure it from the ground, not necessarily from the roadbed.
Correct.
Yeah, the roadbed is about 4 feet up from where the base of this sign is right now, and the top of that concrete barrier is at about 6 feet. So, I mean, the numbers do make sense.
And you can tell from the photo, the different grading. This one, the grade is lower here and is higher as you go towards the road. If you can tell from the picture.
I don't think it's going to look too bad from Grand Avenue, but it already looks really tall from the other road next to it. It looks like a pole sign to me. I get it. I know why they had to do it. I do understand.
I get that, but what was the sign that was there originally? What was the height of the original sign?
12 feet. Oh,
The original sign?
Yeah,
Before we moved this?
that was
can you remember
replaced. That this replaced.
I believe it was about,
Sir, Mike Castillo, I'm the junior vice at the Legion. The original post actually sat like 3 feet from the sidewalk, so it was much higher by itself. And then the original height of that sign, I want to say, was 15 feet. We still got the original sign, which itself was this tall, and you had the pole. But when we moved it back, and you can see on the picture, there's a grade slope. So we lost about 4.5 to 5 feet of elevation just by bringing it back to 10 feet to meet the requirement that the city put to us.
But the sign was the other sign visible going west? Because
It
I tried to drive by
It was
going every
100%
direction.
visible because it was 3 feet from the sidewalk. It had higher elevation.
It was more visible when you're heading
Oh, yeah.
west. The old
East
sign
and
was.
west. Yes. I could try and see if it's in Google Maps still.
I think we have that. Are you talking about Commissioner Morgan? the sign that was there before we
Yes.
put the flag sign up?
Yes.
Okay, I think I have it on here. So give me a moment to search.
Because I'm struggling with this one as well, because I see it, I drove by every direction, and, I guess that would be 21. Sign looks great. Going east, the sign looks fantastic. And then I get it from the bridge, I see it, but then once you pass it, you can see it. But then the purpose of the sign, I think, still meets what it's intended to do. The only thing that you don't see is maybe an advertisement going west.
This is the original. Let me make it a little bit bigger.
The original base ground sign as well as the
Oops.
pole sign. Pole sign was probably in that 12 to 15 foot height.
Right
but
here.
as he said, it was much, much closer to Grand Avenue. Base of it was at a much higher elevation.
So it was closer to Grand and the other.
Yes,
Okay.
it was tucked up closer into the corner.
So this is the pole sign, and this
Got
is
it.
the monument, I guess, sign?
We took those signs down to meet
Yes.
the compliance of one sign per roadway for the city's request. We also took the two up front. The one on the bottom, number 4, and number 2, those are gone as well. So we met the modern code. The issue is that we have is when you go, if you stand on Belle Plaine and Grand and you look, you can't see a sign at all. In the daytime, you don't even notice it. At nighttime, through the upper part of the grade, you would see some kind of light behind it, but you don't know what the heck it is. And even as you're driving and you're halfway through that bridge, you don't see the sign. It's on the lower part, going towards Ace, going westbound, that you actually start seeing the sign. But yes, that's, as you see, that base is about 3 to 4 feet away from the sidewalk. We're actually 10 feet further in from that. We're closer to the tank now than we were before. So when Matt, the other Matt, came by, we went 10 feet from the tank up the hill to meet that line. You see that red line? That's where we try to get to, 10 feet. And as you see, that's where we're at. That's the new sign. But you can't see it at all from traveling westbound.
Especially if there's cars coming from the east. Can't. So,
And then, yes, if we do the new, the one concern that we also had was when the new BP sign goes up for the car wash. I think I just saw it there, was 7 feet wide. So coming eastbound, you won't see much of it if you put it at a certain spot. Because it's tall enough and wide enough that it'll obliterate what we have currently there now. And that looks tall right there, but it's not that tall.
If memory serves me correctly, didn't we also permit them to be higher because it was going to be in the floodplain, and we wanted to make sure that it had no problems with it being in the floodplain? I guess my question is, why didn't we extend it at that point in time, and why are we coming back now after the fact? It just, yeah. it just-
Their initial request, I think, was for 8 feet in height, and we had them raise it up a little bit higher, up to the maximum 12 feet per the district. Didn't recognize the fact that it would be blocked by the guardrail of Grand Avenue on that bridge. So unfortunately, that was, just foresight that we didn't have.
Sounds like
At the location, the 12 feet in height probably would have been okay if it had been in the original pole sign location up closer to the roadway. Once we implemented the 10-foot setback, it pushed it down the hill a little bit.
I used to travel that road all the time going to my job, and I'd always see the sign. Either way, I never had any issues seeing it. So I understand their concern, but if it doesn't meet the criteria here, then it doesn't meet the criteria, and we need to follow the criteria.
No, it's a evaluation that every commissioner will have to make on their own.
I don't have anything to add. I did drive by today, and I agree, you can't see it westbound at all. But as far as the criteria, that's another.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, I think that just visually, it's going to look tall when you're heading east, but it's going to look the appropriate height coming the other direction.
Any other?
I will comment for the folks at American Legion, you're also going to have to do some major tree trimming if you want that to be visible once you raise that up, because when you come westbound, the trees block the view as well.
Yes, sir. We talked about that. We're going to handle one thing at a time, so we're going to go ahead and try and get this elevated, and then once that's approved, hopefully, then we'll contract a tree trimming service and get a permit if the city wants us to do that. We looked at it's one major branch on the tree closest to the corner there, and then some of those bushes, that we could trim them without having to cut anything down. So we ourselves don't want to cut down any trees because of the erosion effect. We're actually looking to hire a consultant to tell us how to best address that issue, because we do see some erosion happening. So we're talking about felt, rock, flowers, grasses, whatever. So we're also trying to conserve that one corner there adjacent to the bridge, which is right under Avenue on top there. But we don't want to cut down those trees.
Right.
We just want to trim them so you can see.
I have one more question. We have a taller sign right across the street in the Ace parking lot.
Yes,
That's
that
because
was,
we looked at that before.
that was under the old codes, so yes, there's a much higher sign over there.
I guess the point is that this property is exceptional. It's different. We've had this issue before where the property sits down in. Not only does it sit down in, it also has a bridge on. There is room. Exceptions.
Any other questions or comments? Had a motion in the form of an approval would be in order.
Make a motion to approve the request by the American Legion Post 771 for a minor sign exception to increase the height of the existing electronic message center sign by 6 feet for a total height of 18 feet on the property located at 749 Milwaukee Avenue.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Paff. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Blair,
Aye.
Campbell,
Nay.
Nordentoff,
Nay.
Paff,
Aye.
Morgan,
No.
Stevens,
Aye.
Sula.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for a special use permit request for the property located at 4017 Old Grand Avenue.
I've got this one.
Oh, you got,
All
okay.
good. So the petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow the establishment of a medical and behavioral health clinic on a quarter-acre parcel located at 4017 Old Grand Avenue. This used to be a law office for Michael Kavanaugh. Back in 2011, it went through the special use process to make it a law office. Since then, they have decided to sell that property, and it has sat vacant for a year. That special use has expired, so now there is a new petitioner looking to go through a similar process. The subject property is located in the C4 Village Center District. The proposed clinic use is consistent with the types of commercial and professional services permitted within the C4 district and the Old Grand Corridor. Dental clinics and medical clinics and these types of professional services are allowed in this district, but with a special use permit. The clinic is expected to operate as a low-impact, appointment-based outpatient facility with behavioral health services primarily conducted via telehealth, resulting in minimal traffic or parking impacts on adjacent residential or commercial properties. The petitioner also indicates that the clinic will meet all applicable zoning regulations and maintain compliance with other village ordinances. Overall, the proposed special use is consistent with the professional office character of the area and supports the continued reinvestment of properties within the Old Grand Corridor. The petitioner, Marina Estrella, is present tonight to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. As this is a public hearing, I would request anyone from the petitioner or members of the general public who intend to either give testimony or ask questions to please stand and be sworn in by the village attorney or acting village attorney. So if you think you're going to ask a question or make a comment, please stand up and be sworn in.
Okay. And you might change your mind later, so just be sworn in now, and if you change your mind and decide not to comment, that's fine. So raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. So at this time, I'll turn the floor over to the petitioner for your presentation. If you could please state your name for the record.
My name is Marina Estrella. I'm a nurse practitioner for family medicine and psychiatry.
I think you need to get a little bit closer to the
I'm
microphone.
sorry. Can you hear me?
Now I
Sorry.
can. Okay.
I'm a little bit nervous because when he called me hearing, what kind of court hearing? This is my first time attending a court hearing. But yes, my name is Marina Estrella, and I'm a licensed family nurse practitioner and psychiatric nurse practitioner. Currently, having practice at Waukegan, and also I'm a medical provider at Waukegan Lake Behavioral Hospital.
Is there anything you'd like to add to what Jake stated before?
If you have any question, but like what he said, I'm trying to purchase this building to convert into family medicine and like mostly telehealth, behavioral, providing psychiatry and like counseling, psychotherapy, but through telehealth, mostly telehealth, yeah. But for family medicine, just a regular clinic, walk-in clinic, you know, from child as early as like 1 month, 1 week old kid up to the adult. So it's a family medicine clinic. Yeah, that would be the purpose of the building. I know it's a law office right now, but that's what I'm trying to get approval for so I can move my company to that venue, to that site.
And how many employees will you have on staff?
Currently, I just only have one in me as staff
Okay.
because we're small right now. I'm just starting. And we'll be like up to 5, maximum 5.
Do you envision parking being an issue at all?
What is that, sir?
Do you envision parking being an issue?
No, because we schedule patients like every 30 minutes. So there will be no, and I'm the only one who's doing the services. So parking should not be a problem. I think there's like 6. So we see patients every 30 minutes or sometime 1 hour. It depends. If it is like no patient, it will take 1 hour. And in between, I'll do telehealth. So parking should not be a problem.
Questions?
Was that 5 employees, including you?
Yes, sir. It's just a small one, you know. I'm just starting because my primary reason for purchasing that is through telehealth. We just need an office, you know, office address to really work on because we can work from home.
Okay, but I thought you said it was a walk-in medical clinic?
Yeah, it could be a walk-in eventually, appointment also, yeah, but medical.
Only appointments or people can walk in?
Eventually, people can walk in, but right now I'm not opening for walk-in. Mm-hmm.
I envision some problems with parking then. You're going to have that many employees. Really, that last space, the 6th space on the end, somebody's parked in next to it. I don't know how you get out of it. I tried. I would never make it.
It's a tight parking lot.
The tight parking lot. That's my only worry. Other than that, I think it's suited for there, but There's just very limited parking. Is there anywhere else employees can park?
Actually, when I saw that the place, the area, I don't know it will be allowed, but we already foresee that we can expand the parking eventually. But if the census would really go high, we will mainly use that for telehealth. So that's why I never doubt of getting it parking-wise as the issue, because my projection is mainly for telehealth. And we use it just for admission, because when you do admission, it's a thorough assessment, so you want to see the patient with the family when it comes to psychiatry. But those patients that we will be screening, there will be a telehealth screening prior to make sure that patients who goes there are stable, and we will not jeopardize the safety of the community. That's one of the, for sure.
Yeah, and just one question. So this is 100% outpatient, right? So
Yes,
there's
sir.
no,
No, we cannot operate like inpatient now. It's in and out, in and out. Just check, they have cough, they have fever, they fell and they're bleeding. We can do like same day patient, and then if there is a need for emergency, I'll transfer them out.
in and out, 9 to 5 type of
Yeah.
hours?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And in between, like I told you, telehealth.
Yeah.
So when I
So-
say five staff, that's the maximum already. Like, we're so big if we have 5 staff.
Okay, but so after 5, you would still have employees there for telehealth, or is it 9 to 5 and the office is closed?
9 to 5, sir.
Okay.
And because, if we do blood draw, the specimens has to be picked up at 5:30, so we can no longer stay if that's the case. Our last patient is always 5 o'clock, assuming that they will be out by 5:30.
Thank you.
So I just want to make sure that we're clear that the request at hand is for this to be this medical office facility by appointment only. But I know she just mentioned that she hopes to migrate to a walk-in situation as well, but if we approve this today, are we really saying at this point that walk-in is not allowed and that it would need to be revised
I think we can
in the
specify,
future?
I think we can specify that.
I just want that to be clear, that this doesn't
I would-
morph later on into the walk-in where we can end up with, a lot more in and out traffic in a very, very limited space, even by appointment only. So,
Sir, can I answer that, sir? Because I already have a plan for that. I know that would be asked. So walk-in would be, I will limit it to 2 hours only, 8 to 10, because all the scheduled patients, because when you see patients, sometimes they need fasting, like blood work. So I strategize, those who needs fasting will be early, and walk-in will be limited to 7:45 to 9 o'clock. Because sometimes, those people, we have to accommodate patients in the community. It's hard to go to emergency room or to get in. Many of the clinics now are not accepting walk-in. But if you are having bad cold cough, you don't want to go to emergency room for that. But if I will see that patient, I cannot just do it through telehealth. I have to see them and just check their lung sounds. That's why I'm saving that at least 1.5 hours for walk-in. It will not be walk-in all throughout, no. It's a limited time to help the community as well. That's the purpose of the walk-in, eventually, but not now. Yeah. But a weekend, if for approval-wise, I would suggest yes. If you need the decision now, I would limit at least 1.5 hours, because we cannot really prevent the walk-in. People need help, then we have to help them.
Did you?
just stop me in my tracks with that, so. But if anybody else has another question,
No.
I'm just going to chew on it.
Well, I have a similar concern that the walk-in is going to generate extra traffic flow and tight location. I think that's where you were going with it.
Well, that's exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the site that Shannon pulled up, and I'm not sure how much capacity or surplus capacity is even on this site to expand beyond the spots that are there. So I'm not even sure how that's managed.
There's no parking on the street there.
No.
And pedestrian traffic would be a safety concern. Where the nearest on-street parking is.
Further up Old Grand.
Couple grand. Todd?
I just want to make sure we're defining what walk-in is. Walk-in, no one has set up an appointment to draw blood or anything, they're just walking in. Is that what, how you
Yes,
define
sir.
walk-in?
Like, first, let's say when you make appointment, supposedly you have to cancel within 24 hours, because sometimes, somebody will not show up, so we're allowing the walk-in. So if you will like advertise that there's walk-in, because I have a website, they will come in. I've seen this with many clinics, and you just have to limit the time. I know parking will be a challenge. If 1 hour, if you think that 1 hour walk-in window, like 8 to 9, is that the only way you can approve, then I'll work with that one. Or I can strategize in between. It's like I will limit the inpatient, like in-person visit to every hour, like 8, 9 in between. I can do the telehealth, I can do the walk-in. Whatever it takes to get approval, you think, concerning the parking area, because I know it's a limited space.
Because I think, like when I go to my doctor's appointment, they have my blood drawn and my physicals and stuff. That's part of my appointment, that it's that time that's set aside. They're going to do my appointment plus draw blood all at the same time. So if they make an appointment that's to draw blood, then that should be the appointment, not just randomly come in and draw blood. That's in my opinion, I think you
Yes,
might
sir.
be defining what walk-in is.
Walk-in is like, usually walk-in, they're sick. Yeah, but there are scheduled appointments. Let's say you have diabetes, that's every 3 months. We strategize already to schedule them every 3 months to make sure your A1C is okay. So we'll allot you at least 30 minutes, one patient at a time. Okay. Walk-in we're giving them time, like what I told you. Let's say they call, sometimes they leave a message, my daughter is so sick, can you see her? Can you give her medicine? Of course, when they're sick, I want to see them. And we will allow the walk-in. This is what I observed with one of the PAs that I work with. She sets like 2-hour window because they're big. Parking-wise, they're good. But for this, I know it's small, 1 hour window would be greatly appreciated because I can still accommodate patients at a time, even just 1 hour. Let's say from 8 to 9, I can still see like 3 patients if they badly need it.
Yeah, I understand the walk-in part, the sick call before. Yeah, it's a very nice thing to offer to patients. So I guess if I were a parent and I had a sick child, I'd want to get there right when you opened. So I do see where parking is a concern for sure. And I also, as a business owner, I'm kind of like, do you want to limit yourself in that space? So if you're comfortable with it and you're confident in your scheduling, then I think the building's great. It's really the parking.
Because like what I told you, I can squeeze in between the telehealth. So let's say 9, okay, let's open at 8 o'clock. You have walk-in 8 to 9. My first patient is 9 o'clock. I can do telehealth. And the first one is 9:30. So I still have room for them to leave, and then come another one. So it's just a matter of strategizing, really. I saw it already. I love the place, and I said parking should not be a problem because of the telehealth. Nowadays, sometimes they're scheduled to come in, and they're, we cannot come in. Can we just do telehealth? If I don't need to hear their lung sounds, their vowel sounds, it's okay. Because my clinic will be a combination, psychiatry and then family medicine. I think it will be really a great help to Gurnee community if we will allow the walk-in. Because it's really hard. It's really hard to get into walk-in. Yeah, like you have to go to emergency room or wait the following day, suffer the sickness. Or in fact, if we open this opportunity, we will all be able to open doors to help people.
I'll just make one final observation before I open the floor to the public. The previous use was a law office, and that lended itself to very much being able to control the traffic flow. I'm troubled by the open hours concept or walk-in concept because you can't control whether one person's going to show up or 10 people are going to show up, and the site just can't handle that type of variability. So that's my last comment before I open the floor. So at this time, I'll open the floor to the public. If anyone from the public would like to ask a question, please come to the microphone and state your name, address your questions to the Planning and Zoning Board. After all the questions have been asked, I will close the floor to the public, and then we'll address the questions the best that we can. Okay, would anybody like to ask a question or make a comment?
My name's Angelo Pope. A few of you know me. I live across the street from the facility, 4014 Old Grand Avenue. And I will say that Mike did a great job converting that home into a commercial site for his law offices. I mean, he really did a top-notch job there. I plow it during the winter for Jennifer. I was all for this, but now that I'm hearing about the parking, I'm just a little bit concerned. But I think the building itself and the interior of the building will work well for what she wants to do. I think there's 8 spots there, if I remember when I was plowing it. And there's probably room to create a couple more along the building if you did it right. Along the west side of the building, you could probably create a couple more parking spots.
Excuse me, when he's addressing the questions to us, and then I'll close the floor to the public.
So
and then
that's all I guess I would have the planning see how else she could add parking to the area there. I imagine she would have to go to you for that also, right? So it might be a good, because I think it's a terrific building for what she wants to do. And I have no problem. My neighbors next door, Bob is a couple doors down, Sandals, he said he was fine with it. So that's my only question to you guys is how might you help her with the parking area?
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I'm Jennifer Sturbins. Michael Kavanaugh, who's deceased, I'm his fiance. I'm Jennifer Sturbins. I'm Michael Kavanaugh's fiance. I've been in this building several times. I want to support her in this aspect that I was there at very busy hours. There were 3 attorneys, Dave Stepanage, his paralegal, Patrick Brady, Mary Cole, their paralegal. Appointments, yes, you have appointments, but you also have walk-in. As an attorney, you don't know who's stopping by, making their payments, stopping in for a consult. You can't control somebody from not stopping in. The only person that does control that is Barb Swanson, my probate attorney. It's very difficult to get in. You can't get into that office without a scheduled appointment. So in all fairness, I can say there were 5 employees at that building, and there was still parking for the attorneys' clients, whoever stopped in, the FedEx, mail being delivered, clients just stopping in, other attorneys stopping in to chit-chat about cases. We didn't run into a problem. So in all fairness, that's what I wanted to intersect for Mrs. Estrada.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Did you want to ask a question?
Okay. Hi, I'm Nada Popovich. I live and own a business on that street. I think it would be a great addition to Old Grand Avenue. It's taking many years to get that street cleaned up, and it is a pretty building. I have not been inside of it. My husband has, and he thought it was a great place. I guess my question is, it was an attorney's office, and now it's a physician's office. Are there modifications to the interior of the building? Because I also work in healthcare. So just a question. Or is it all set up like we had to have handicap accessible bathrooms and all of that? Do the same rules apply? Or are there new rules that we have to look for? Thank you.
Thank you. If you'd like to add, if you have to go back.
The question, the answer to your question is yes.
Oh, if you're going to answer the questions,
I can't
we'll
answer-
come back to that.
Oh,
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay.
There is, if you want to review the, I think 42 photos on the listing for the building, there are handicap devices in the both bathrooms, the ramp going into the building. So yes, Mike had to follow all the rules and regulations for the zoning.
My question was, and I know I did, is are there different standards
And when I close
for the healthcare? I apologize if I jumped in.
And when I close the floor to the public, I will ask staff to address that for us.
I was just wondering if there's different standards when you go from one office being, attorney to a medical facility.
And we will address that. Right now, I'm just trying to garner all the questions, and then we'll close the floor, and then we'll answer the questions.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I'm going to close the floor to the public, and Dave, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So primarily, the building modifications to go from a single-family residence to a law office or to a medical office are going to be pretty much identical. You're going to have handicapped accessibility into the structure, and you're going to have handicapped accessibility in the washrooms. The specifics for a medical office, they may need hand washing stations in the treatment rooms. I would assume that that's a fairly easy modification to put sinks in each of the treatment rooms. Beyond that, I would not see any other physical building modifications that the village would require. It would just be what the medical practice would require in those hand washing facilities.
Okay. And then the other question is there the realistic opportunity or ability to expand parking, given all the setbacks and everything? And it is kind of an odd-shaped lot to begin with.
It is. It'd be tight to get both the additional parking as well as additional maneuvering and all the clearances that are required. Maybe could get one more, but it'd be tight.
And staff would like to demonstrate that this is an ADA spot, and this is also a hatch spot. Normally, cars don't park in the hatch area. It's usually just the ADA. So these two should be separated for ADA.
I've closed the floor to the public, ma'am, but I'll open it if you have a specific question. If you have, but you need to, I'll open the floor again, but you need to go to the microphone.
I apologize, I'm hearing impaired. I have hearing aids and they're not the best. What about removing the bushes closer to Grand Avenue?
So the issue is that you're kind of competing against yourself. So when you have parking lots, you have to have landscaping between the parking lot and the street. So there still is a requirement for having landscaped areas and buffer areas. You cannot build all the way up to the property line. You have to have, I think, on Grand Avenue, I think technically it's a 25-foot buffer along Grand Avenue and maybe along Old Grand. So it already probably is deficient in the amount of landscaping that's around the perimeter. So expanding into that would require special permission by this board and by the village board to encroach further into those. So you kind of have to work within, expanding farther out is probably out of the question. So it's reconfiguring within would be the only real option, and it would be tight to do that, to have the maneuvering room to pull into and out of those parking stalls.
And I'd just like to say then also, she doesn't have 5 employees currently, and I don't know if all the employees needed to be on hand. I worked in the medical field as well at Orchard Medical Center for 6 years, 4 months, and we staggered help. We worked from home, like she was suggesting, and I can just tell you that we had three attorneys in there and 2 employees, and we didn't run into the parking issue.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll close the floor to the public again. Questions?
No.
So Additional comments, Dave?
I'm not quite sure how to address the walk-in side of it within the framework of the motion. I don't know if it's our responsibility to, in a sense, negotiate a business model in this forum to determine, like, okay, let's allow 1 hour of walk-in. Well, no, it really should be 90 minutes. Should it be in the afternoon? Should it be in the morning? I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily our responsibility to do that. But I don't know if we want to go black or white and just say, okay, well, then today it's just going to be appointment only, and you have to come back later and request something different. I'm a little stuck on how to deal with that part of it, because that walking component was not within the information that we were provided within the package, so that was just caught a little off guard by that, because it seemed like it was really appointment-based only, and so that's what I walked in with. So I'm just struggling with how to manage that.
Yeah.
If anybody else has,
I mean,
open.
I turn to Gretchen a little bit on that one, but from my perspective, I think it's an all or nothing. I agree with your comment. We can't dictate, is it an hour or is it 90 minutes? I think the question is, should it be allowed or not allowed? And Gretchen?
Yeah, I think it has to be all or nothing.
Okay, thank you.
Edwin?
I'd like to make this happen. Struggling big time with parking. I drove in there. Although she's saying that it worked for the law office, it'll work for this. I don't know. Seems very doubtful that it wouldn't cause a problem, especially when she mentioned mail delivery and FedEx. Yes, or there's also going to be people coming to pick up blood samples. So I'm just struggling.
I too am struggling with it. I think if we do make a motion, that we do have to give an exception and say that it's without any walk-ins to the motion. That's how I would probably proceed with it.
I don't, well, I'm, again, just sticking to the mandate. I don't know if we can prohibit a business model. So it's either we go or we don't go. I get it, and I don't want you to be a victim of your own success. I think it'll be good. I like the medical aspect of it. I think it fits in with the character. It's a small medical office, fits in good with the character of Old Grand Avenue, particularly leading down to that space. So I'm not struggling as much as my colleagues, but I don't want you to be a victim of your own success.
I don't have a lot to add, except I think it speaks a lot for what the building use was before. I'm not struggling with it heavily either. I think it would be a good addition.
The tipping point for me was a testimony that the law office handled the parking just fine with quite a number of employees, and their appointment cycle is very similar to that of a medical practice. And I think as far as the parking is concerned, the amount of people in and out, whether they have an appointment or walking in, is going to be limited by the staff, right? They can only see so many people, and so the facility itself will ultimately limit the amount of people that can show up and cycle in and out.
Can I get
I'm not troubled so much by the mail delivery, the blood pickups, or the FedEx or Amazon, whatever. I mean, they typically pull in really quick and then they back out really quick.
Or they don't even leave the street. I mean, they just stay on the street.
Or they might do that too. They're probably not supposed to do it there, but they may do it. I mean, when I think of a law office, I think the opportunity for people just walking in is kind of small. I mean, my experience is you don't go to see an attorney unless you have an appointment, unless they're a very, very good friend and it's partially a social visit, but then you check their schedule to make sure they're available. So I'm really struggling with the walk-in part.
Yeah, I think if just to add, when I'm reflecting on my own doctors and when I visit them, it's the parking lot is primarily filled with employee parking, right? I mean, my doctor, and he's I think, 30-year practicing physician. I'm in, I'm out. There's not a lot of, I don't think they used to do it like the old days unless you run your practice differently, but I'm probably the only one sitting in the waiting room. I'm seen by my physician, and then I'm gone. And then there's probably someone pulling up. If you're really running it to that standard where you are appointment-based and you are sticking to the appointments, I'm in and out, and I'm not running into a bunch of traffic. This is a 30-year practice. That gives me a little bit more comfort when I reflect on that.
Do they allow walk-in?
If I call him and I'm gonna faint, he'll probably see me. I won't drive over there, but somebody will take me.
That's good.
That's good. I mean, my primary care guy used to have, I don't know if he still does or not, but used to have sick call, they used to call it.
Yes, sick call.
And you knew it started at 8 and it only lasted till 9 or 10, but if you didn't get there at 7:59, your chances of able to see the doctor in that 1 hour window were pretty limited. So it tended to be kind of busy. So I'm really struggling. Yeah, go ahead.
Because there are no adjacent businesses with adjacent parking lots, I believe it's going to be somewhat self-limiting. If there's not parking spots available, there's nowhere really else for somebody to go. They can circle the block and wait for somebody to leave. But, with no parking on Old Grand Avenue, there's really no opportunity for them to go anywhere else. I don't see, patrons, patients, parking in the neighbor's driveway. If there's room, they'll pull in. If there's not, there's no room. So it's not like they're going to be parking in the, McDonald's next door and walking across and utilizing their parking. It is what it is. So it's going to be a limitation on the business and the limitation on the success if they are a successful business. And if they have 5 practitioners in there seeing patients, it's going to be somewhat self-limiting by having the amount of parking that they have. So just food for thought.
Is there a way to what is the closest on-street parking as you go west on Old Grand?
It's a ways down. It's past the intersection of Delaney.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
There's some on-street parking between First and Delaney, maybe.
I'm just thinking about employees, parking
Parking
down the block.
Oh, and walk down. So they made an agreement with.
Yes, Steve.
I'm prepared to advance a motion.
Okay.
I mean, the more time that I've spent on this, the more I kind of feel like we're not going to ultimately solve their problem, but I'm going to lean in the direction of allowing them to do their best effort to run their business as best as they see fit, and hope for them to be wildly successful. So I move to recommend that the village board approve special use permit at 4017 Old Grand Avenue for the establishment of a medical and behavioral health clinic.
Second.
Pat, did you second it? Okay, so motion by Mr. Nordentoff, seconded by Mr. Campbell. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, roll call, please.
Blair.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Nordentoff.
Aye.
Paff.
Aye.
Morgan.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Sula.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next, this was a hard one. And I agree with Mr. Nordentoff's comment that you're going to have to self-regulate whether or not the walk-in stuff works. If it's unwieldy, you'll just have to stop it. But just so you understand the process, we are recommending body to the village board staff will let you know when the village board will make the final decision on this matter. And good luck. Thank you. Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is an informal review. One of my favorite parts because it's the opportunity for us to kind of give feedback at the first steps of the process. The request is from Vanguard Partners, I hope I said that correctly, for about 26 acres located at 775 South Milwaukee Avenue. Whose is this? Is this Jake or Shannon?
Oh, I can just give the introduction. So Vanguard Partners is seeking informal feedback on a new multifamily and commercial development plan. The petitioner requests to rezone the parcel from O2 PUD General Office District to R6 PUD Multifamily Residential District to accommodate the development of 260 residential units housed within 10 buildings and 1 proposed future commercial use. Go ahead.
Good, okay.
Okay, if you can please state your name. For the...
Good evening, my name is Eric Gum with Vanguard Partners, 1200 North Mayfair Road, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53226. Thank you for the opportunity to come and bring this concept to the board for informal feedback. Like it was mentioned, we are looking to develop a 260-unit multifamily community at the corner of Manchester Road and Highway 21, and put together this presentation just to give a little bit of an overview of who we are, what we're looking to do, and the thought behind the proposed community. So, Vanguard Partners, we are based in Milwaukee. We are a multifamily and industrial real estate development and management company. Have been doing development since 1992, founded by Stuart Vanguard. And over that time, we've developed about 1,500 market rate multifamily units throughout southeastern and in central Wisconsin. We are owners and operators of our communities. We do not we do not hire third-party management for any of our communities. We directly employ the leasing consultant, the property manager, the maintenance technicians on staff. That gives us the clear oversight over how the property is maintained to make sure that it's held to our quality standards. And we have, like I mentioned, vertically integrated. We have all that in-house, and our property management group is our largest department in our company with our portfolio. So we're very hands-on. We focus on community partnership. We've been in discussions with village staff over the last few months about this proposal, and we approach every development as we develop with the community, not just in the community. So through this process, we do plan to do community outreach, neighborhood meetings with the surrounding neighborhoods, and provide that opportunity for questions and feedback. And the last thing I'll mention is, with our self-management, we take pride in that. Our portfolio ranks in the top 1% nationally for resident satisfaction. We have 2 communities in Wisconsin that are in the top 1% out of 400,000 communities nationally. So that just goes to speak how much we take care of our communities and the importance that we place on that. So the proposal itself features 260 market rate multifamily units. The site itself is a little over 25 acres. About 24 of that will be for multifamily land use. That does include the adjacent stormwater facility that is already existing to date in that acreage. And then there is about 2 acres of retained commercial land or designated commercial land that will be at the hard corner of Manchester and Highway 21. That commercial development will not be part of the multifamily development. That will be zoned as part of the larger zoning process, but that ultimately will be a development that is done by others, not by Vanguard specifically, but we are willing to put the land use in place for that future commercial development. 10 residential buildings throughout the site, all two-story in nature. And if you can go to the next slide to give a schematic concept of what that building looks like. So the buildings consist of are two-story direct access buildings. What that means is there's no common corridors in these buildings. Both first floor and second floor homes all have direct ground floor private entries. And if you have a second floor home, you have a private stairwell that goes up to your home. So it is designed to be more of a townhome or a condo style development, but a for rent community. The buildings do have attached garages on the rear of the buildings, so similar architecture on the backside of the building, but we do offer attached garages for select units in these buildings as well. Four-side architecture for that reason. There are unit entries on the front and rear of the buildings, so similar architectural variation is also found on both sides of the building. And durable materials, we only use fiber cement, durable materials, no vinyl materials are used on the buildings. The interior amenities consist of similar finishes to what you would find in a higher end type of development: quartz countertops, stainless steel, appliances, open concept floor plans, walk-in closets. We're very pet friendly. We are very judicious on how we manage the pets, but we are very pet friendly. And next slide, please. And the community features, we'll have a clubhouse with a pool. The clubhouse will also have a fitness center, a business room area, golf simulator. We do have a number of outdoor spaces as well, gazebos, courtyards. We do have an off-leash fenced pet playground area for those that do have dogs on site, dog washing station, and on-site management, like I mentioned before. And so how does this fit within the neighboring community? It's all, like I mentioned before, it's all two-story. So if you can, picture the height of a two-story home, roughly around that 35 to 37 feet. These buildings are at 37 feet in height, very compatible to the height of a two-story house. There's no direct adjacency, so to the east of the property is an existing detention facility backed by open space. To the north is existing office with the fire station there, largely vacant to the south, and then the existing single-family homes and businesses on the west side of the highway. We have the commercial corner providing that opportunity for commercial development and providing that housing diversity to the village of Gurnee. The next slide kind of hits on some of those key housing data points with the village. So 76% in ownership, an owner-occupied rate of 76% in the village. So the predominant housing stock within the village of Gurnee being single-family ownership, this proposal would provide that alternative or differentiated product type for the village, or a housing opportunity for village residents. And 82% per the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, 82% of the area's renters are 1 to 2 person households. And our proposed unit mix skews more heavily towards the studio and 1-bedroom homes, which fits the existing demographics of the area. And then lastly, the housing study that was completed for Lake County showed the need for 2,700 additional units to meet the housing needs in the area. So providing this medium density residential option at this location helps provide to fill that gap. So with that, happy to answer any questions that anybody may have about the proposal.
Okay, thank you. Before we start, I just want to clarify, this is an informal process. We are not going to make any decisions or recommendations to the village board this evening. It's strictly a brainstorming opportunity for us to have with the potential developer. My suggestion, before we get into the details of the proposed development, is probably the most important issue that we have to consider here is the property right now is envisioned to be office zoning. And we have converted office zoning into multifamily districts in the recent past. But I think we need to gauge, before we even talk about any of the details of this, do we have an appetite for this site to be removed from the office rolls?
I do.
Jane?
I do.
Yeah, I don't see it becoming office.
I don't see any other development for office there. And like I said, my subdivision is right across the street, so, you know, and we got 956 units in my area, and I think it would probably be somewhat of a complement to it. But my question also is, if we do that residential, do we also have to make that commercial area like a C4 or C something, commercials, that little block that's right there?
It would probably be CS1, right?
I'm thinking one.
C-
But two has, you know, the permitted uses, right? So, I mean, like, when I was looking at it, like, I wouldn't want to see a gas station tucked into this
Right.
corner.
Yeah.
So that's why.
It would be like a special,
C2 would allow for a gas station to be permitted by right. C1, or the neighborhood commercial. So it's that one, I believe,
that probably is what we want.
is do gas station as a special use permit.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've had other opportunities recently, you know, to talk about our housing mix and the placing, you know, residential multifamily specifically within places that, you know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, we would have probably never even considered. This particular site has been before us numerous times with suggestions ranging from leave it as wild open space, and on the other end of the spectrum, a truck dealership. So, you know, we've seen a lot of different stuff come through here, and I think, you know, in light of the discussions that we've had, you know, related to the housing, you know, I think we should be taking this seriously about the housing component to it. I also agree that anything commercial, in my opinion, should be at the neighborhood scale to serve this neighborhood around it, make it walkable for those that live there and serve that neighborhood. I would be interested in knowing, you know, if we have a number in terms of like the total available open office designated space within the village and what percentage of that this site represents. So in other words, are we taking 10% of it out? Are we taking 70% of it out, or, you know, whatever? I mean, and I know today is different in terms of today's office versus, you know, office in 2019. So, you know, it's a different world. I think we need to be open-minded about it.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, it's, since we're just discussing, right? We can,
Right now, we're just talking about, are we open to changing the zoning?
oh, I see.
Because if we're not comfortable doing that, it's a waste of time to talk about the other stuff.
No, it seems very reasonable to.
Huh?
It seems very reasonable to.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. It's been designated as potential office for as long as
30 years.
As long as I can remember. And there's just never has seemed to be the appetite to have that. So I'm comfortable with going multifamily there, and supportive of a neighborhood type commercial district in there as well. So let's dig into the details a little bit. And I'll start with my first question is, I'm not seeing parking. So
I think it's there, it's just very hard to see.
Hard to see.
Yeah.
so
this-
can
Yep, so that image is conceptual rendering, but we will have ample on-space parking or surface parking to meet the requirements.
okay.
Is parking represented there?
You can see it adjacent to building 10. It's a little more obvious. Between 9 and 8, it looks like is that parking there?
Yeah,
Oh, so can you go to the mic? Can you go to the microphone though, please? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we are parking at about 1.5 to 1. And there's extra room available to that. And what does that mean? Every building has 26 units. Every building has 30-some parking spaces assigned to it. Every building has 10 garages. And then there's 10 parking spaces that we don't even count right behind the buildings. So it doesn't show up on this drawing that well, but that, and then right past it, right behind every one of the buildings, and then middle of where they're built back to back, that's a parking lot that has 23 parking stalls right behind the building as well. Parking is on one side of the building, and then a number of the entrances to the properties are on the other side of the building. So people walk around the building or go through their units to get to the parking lot in the back of the building.
Okay, so thank you. So then, follow-up question for staff then. Does what he outlined in terms of planned parking meet our requirements?
Yes.
Okay.
If I understood this drawing, let's say with the buildings that are in the ring facing, I'm assuming facing in toward the clubhouse or the pool, are those all fronts facing in? Like, have you created like a courtyard sort of effect in there?
Fronts face out towards the streets.
It's like their backyard.
So in this image that's pulled up right here, I believe that's buildings, call it say 4, 5, and 6. The say eastern facing side of the building is going to be similar to the image that had the elevation on there, where you just see unit entries, the front of the building. Then the western side of the building where the drive aisle is, that's where those units that have attached garages would be able to pull into their attached garages.
We want them to look like townhomes. So drive along the road, you can see individual units, those units. The only difference to that, like buildings 1 and 2, where the garages are on opposite sides, front doors face each other, walkway between them, go around to the parking lot. You can't get every building parallel. Some have to be perpendicular. That's how we get garages face each other, and then some of them will have external garages. Have a couple external garages that are there. But all the garages face each other, so I wouldn't say it's like the A and B side of the building. A faces the street, which is 4 faces open.
And we can hear you just fine, but can you get, the meetings are video recorded, and
Understand.
I'm concerned that the recording is not picking you up. Traffic is going to probably be a big question too.
I think that's one of my concerns is that there's only one entrance and exit. So are we going to hook?
Well, there's
There's
two
two
Where's the
entrances.
second
They
one?
don't connect though.
If we go back to the satellite image, maybe.
There's currently
Okay.
one, but the south loop
Yeah, I see
road
it now, I see it.
loops into Des Plaines Court
Yeah.
and is intended to be built out and connected as.
So that
So question for staff is, what are the chances of getting one, maybe 2 signals?
One signal, and I'll preface it, this is one case that we're actually looking for traffic, and it sounds kind of counterintuitive. When we built the fire station at this current location, we had funding for a traffic signal, and the state did not allow us to build the traffic signal because we didn't have enough traffic at that intersection of Manchester. So having a high-density residential, medium-density residential development here helps that case.
Right.
And I'm pretty certain we would be able to warrant a traffic signal at the Manchester intersection. The south location where Des Plaines Court is, most likely not. So it would just be a single traffic signal location at Manchester Drive with a full access point down on the south end.
so the one road, if you can go scroll down,
Scroll
so we
south.
can see the bottom part of it. Keep going.
There you go.
Where that road I'm sorry, that road ends right there, are they going to end up hooking right there because that goes right into Heather Ridge Drive?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll rebuild that
Opposite.
intersection.
Yeah, because then that's also giving access in and out that way as well.
Yes.
For paintball explosion.
Paintball explosion, yes. So similar to the way they have it drawn on their sketch plan, we would have Des Plaines Court, which is the paintball explosion access road, would come and tee into this road, the loop road that would come out opposite Heather Ridge Drive. And unfortunately, it's too close to the signalized intersection with the tollway to get the spacing to have a potential for a second signal at that location.
I think just off the cuff, people that live in my subdivision will love to have a light right there. Right now, we have to go to Gages Lake Road just to be able to turn north, especially in the morning, because of the traffic.
What's the buildable acreage? Because you have the detention pond or stormwater pond. How many acres does that take up of the 26?
So the multifamily specific area is going to be, call it between 18 and 20 acres.
Okay.
Probably closer to the 18-acre mark.
And then you are buying the entire 26, or you're buying 24?
So the plan is when we come in for the plating and the zoning, we will designate the commercial parcel. We will work with the current landowner to put the appropriate zoning both on the multifamily side and the commercial side. But Vanguard itself will only be purchasing and developing the multifamily piece. The current landowner has their own land brokerage firm that they will be working on the development, the sale or the development of that commercial parcel.
Okay. And I guess just the facade, you said you use natural materials, so there will be like stone on those. The only one that's closest to me, and I'm sorry I didn't get the package in time to go up to, I think it's Mount Pleasant, that you have a development, Tivoli?
Yep.
Tivoli Green?
Yep, Tivoli Green is...
There will be stone on this some type of way to kind of break up, or what is it going to look like?
The elevations right now, so we are currently going through, call it a prototype revision to incorporate some other design elements into the buildings. Right now, the main material will be either LP smart siding or hardy panel. That's the cementitious fiber cement material, whether that be horizontal lap siding or some other application of that, but that is the original intent. We're still finalizing the elevations, and will be quite some time before we make a formal submittal to the village as we work through the designs. So I'll caveat that elevation that we're still working through the design elements of the building.
Okay, I'll wait to see that.
Well, a couple of questions. I was just curious, are we going to get some type of study how it's going to impact the village services like fire, water, police? You know, because the village gets no income from property taxes. It's all regular sales tax. So how is this going to impact the village's services? We need to know how that's going to impact that as well.
Yeah, and we can make note of that and look to provide that type of information when we do make a formal submittal on, and provide some commentary how we would, we could work with village staff too to try to quantify some of those impacts as much as possible, but we can provide further information when we do make that formal submittal. But we can make a note of that and make sure that we address it.
And a follow-up to that too would be projected impact on schools and getting the schools' feedback.
Yeah, and I'll comment on the schools briefly as well. Two points to make. More often than not, our type of communities usually have a small amount of school-age children, and that's largely due to, it kind of goes back to the comment before about the unit mix skewing more towards the studios and 1 bedrooms. We have a lesser share of 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms, which by nature reduces the amount of school-age children in the communities, or in our portfolio.
We usually average 6 students per 100 units.
Per 100 units.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have significantly less than single family, but we average six students per 100. We actually have more dogs and cats than we have students in the system.
Explains the big dog park.
Yes.
I got a question. Since we're going to be discussing buffers,
Mhm.
does this look like it meets the buffer requirement? Those plantings are outside of their property line.
Yeah, it's a conceptual drawing. You know, they've got a lot of room to wiggle buildings around on this site. You know, that whole center corridor with the dog park and the clubhouse, that's, you know, very flexible space. So once we dig into it and get, you know, scalable drawings and, you know, get into some of the details, we'll dig into those. Generally, I'm comfortable that they can fit the quantity of units that they are proposing on this site.
Sorry.
Okay.
Emphasis point.
That's a new one on us. Kathy, did you have any comments?
Sorry, Kathy.
I don't have anything to add.
Chris?
I just, you've already answered this question from a couple of different directions, but the commercial area there, as far as your operation is concerned, it's kind of not your business. You're just set aside the area is all you're trying to do.
Setting the boundaries, setting the land use, because it'll be coming in as the larger parcel will be coming in for the land use approvals.
Yeah.
After that point, our subsequent construction drawings and those detailed plans will, on our side, will be focused on the multifamily.
So your other developments don't necessarily have a commercial space where you kind of, this is how we typically do it.
Yeah, and we've done commercial development in the past. That's not our core line of business, which is, why we're setting the groundwork for future development, but we will not be taking on that.
Sure.
Can I ask a question, Chair? Sure. It's mostly more the staff. So how would we do that when we're going to rezone this? Are we rezoning it in the entirety and taking up the R6 as well as whatever we would propose in terms of the C? Or is it done one
We would
step at
rezone
a
it-
time
We would rezone it into two different zoning districts.
into two different zones at once?
At one time.
Okay.
So, and then, question for staff, though. I think the location of the commercial, right place, is the size and shape. I mean, should it be a square, should it be a rectangle?
That's really up to them as to
Okay.
what, you know,
Okay.
and, you know, whoever the commercial broker is, they're going to figure out what the ideal depth is for
Okay.
a commercially viable lot. And that's kind of their business, so we'll let them kind of dictate what that dimension should be.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's going to be right across the street from a little strip mall that should be, there should be
Yep.
the same there, so. it
And
should be-
especially if it's a signalized intersection,
Yeah.
it will work well
Correct.
as being a commercial corridor.
Okay, so I think we've been pretty clear, we're receptive. I encourage you to work with staff, and, you know, the devil's in the details, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is a discussion item for potential zoning ordinance text amendment related to landscape buffers. Who's got this one?
I'm taking this one.
Okay.
So yes, our current zoning ordinance has landscape buffers for any commercially zoned property along the roadways where they have parking lots. The standard buffer is an 8-foot deep buffer. And then we have several locations where we have an enhanced buffer, which is 25 feet deep. The issue has, and those roadways that we have the enhanced buffer along are identified in your notes. Major state and county highways within our community. What we have seen since this implementation of this enhanced buffer gives the landscape architects and the developers more room to move the material around within that enhanced buffer depth. So We require a specific number of trees and bushes per 100 feet of frontage. What we've seen is, they'll scooch all the plantings to one side or to the other and leave the majority of the frontage fairly vacant and bare. So we're just bringing this topic forth to see if the PZB has an appetite to increase the landscape quantities within that 25-foot buffer. I don't believe that it necessarily, we've got 3 times the depth plus. I don't know that it necessarily means we need to have 3 times the amount of landscape material, but we do believe that it needs something more than just the same amount of material that you would put in an 8-foot wide buffer. So just kind of gave you a couple of examples of developments that have happened under this current code, and just wanting to open it up for discussion. When you're driving down Grand Avenue, it's a fairly stark difference, the ones that have been developed under this code versus the ones that were developed under PUDs, some of the previous landscaping standards. Now granted, a lot of those have 30 years worth of growth on them, so we're looking at mature trees versus new trees, but there's still a fairly stark difference between the quantity of material that's in those landscape buffers. So that's kind of, we're given the concept out there. Staff, we started talking about this a couple years ago when Tracy Velkover was still on staff, continued on when Autrian was on staff, and now we're kind of closing the loop. I'm the only one still here out of that group. And
So it's yours
so,
now, huh?
So it's mine now.
Okay.
And I haven't had different concepts as to what should and shouldn't be done. I, recognize that it's, a lessening of the required landscape materials, but I'm not a decision maker. I'm just lofting the softball up for you guys to whack at. And then we did have one minor detail with the roadways that are identified. This wasn't in your notes. The McDonald's at Dilly's and Grand is potentially going to redevelop that site. The stretch of Dilly's Road south of Grand Avenue is a locally controlled roadway. It would impact their site, and questioning whether it should, because it's a local street. It's no longer a county highway south. It's basically a block deep going south, and then it turns into residential farther south. So my suggestion, once we get the full text of this put together, is to treat Dilly's Road similar to the way we do Delaney Road, and only require the enhanced buffer width along the county highways. And once it crosses Grand Avenue and goes south or of a village street, and take that back to that 8-foot buffer in those areas. So with that, open it up to further discussion. Thank you.
Go ahead and start. I drove past Cooper's, Panera, Mattress, and Raising Cane's, and preface this by saying I don't think there's the answer.
No.
Because when I drove past those, and I drove past them along the frontages of the main road, and I drove within the developments themselves, and I thought it was fine.
Okay.
I wasn't offended by it. And then I was looking at things in other parts of town, and it's funny you mentioned the McDonald's, because some of the landscaping there is so overgrown, and signs are partially obstructed. The Starbucks across the street, you can't even see the building. And then I'm concerned about some things like within some of the parking areas along streets, like if you're exiting the complex where Mariano's is, at that northwestern, go on to Stonebrook. The landscaping along Stonebrook is really, I almost got hit. So.
Were you turning left?
I was turning right.
Oh, going back out to.
I was
Pulling on to Stonebrook.
I was going.
You're on the ring road.
I was
right?
going. No, I was leaving the ring road, going onto Stonebrook so
Right.
I could get to Grant.
No, I know you're talking about the
And-
sightline.
and-
There's a bit of a curve there with
And the sightline to the directions to the south, and the way the road curves and everything, difficult. And I drive a sedan. I don't drive a so I'm a little more sensitive to it. And then I've noticed the same things like exiting the fuel station area at Sam. And is that one, Chick-fil-A. Sometimes those tall grasses are wilted around. So I'll just start with that. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer on this, but I think we need to consider safety.
Fair enough.
Me personally, I don't really have much more to add than what Jim mentioned. I think choice of plantings and more thought that goes into, their size at full mature growth kind of tends to be more of the issue. A lot of these things get planted and they're not even knee high, and here we are, 20 years later and we can't see around a corner anymore. Our corner sight lines have been taken. So, I don't know how we fix things like that. When a lot of this stuff was put in, it was done with good intentions and it met our needs at the time, but things changed. I don't know if we can dial back and say, okay, well, we're to change the formula and follow this map because every one of them's different and unique to the characteristics of that particular site.
I think some of this might be out of our control, and I'm not offended or opposed to having some type of increased density for the 25 feet, but looking at specifically the ones that were referenced in the packet, going to a Cooper's Hawk, I think a lot of that is just neglect of the landscape. Right? I mean, it looks bad because it hasn't been maintained. So the plantings haven't been able to catch and or even come to some type of fruition or maturity because it hasn't been maintained well. I do see some validity if there's, you've got 8 and then you've got 25 and we're just going to put the same amount in the 25 that we did in the 8 to kind of stamp the plan, if you will. So I see some validity in that, but I also see things that may not be in our control except for code enforcement where they're going to maintain the plantings to get to our intent with regards to how the standards are.
Follow up on Cooper's Hawk in particular, it's kind of an interesting example because frontage along Grand Avenue is where their monument sign is. So by definition, you're going to want to have low-key, short plantings, but the Rollins roadside, you can't even see the building.
No, hard.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah, when the trees get up high enough where you can see underneath them, like the Kubota, got trees all along it, but they're not blocking. They're tall enough. And you can see equipment. The only one that I really struggle with, Raising Cane's, their landscape is pretty nice, pretty solid. I mean, some of the trees are new, big yet, but I thought they did a good job. They planted most of their plantings on the backside, side near the building, so they condensed them, strip basically. Could you, well, I was going to say, the one that I really had a problem with, Panera, in front of Panera. Partly that, I think, is because it slopes down. You can't see some of the plantings. On the other side of the street, you can see plantings. A berm, and also Cooper's Hawk has a berm. So, if a place has a berm, you need less screening than you do when you don't have a berm. So it is hard to determine what every site needs. Is there another way you could do this, like limit it to the first third or last third of 25 buffer?
Push all the material towards the street?
Away from
the street?
Because I thought the whole reasoning was so we didn't block ourselves in like we're driving down a tunnel and set the buffer a little wider.
We set the buffer. Yeah, we set the buffer just to kind of prevent the tunnel effect and give a little more green as you're going down these major corridors. And another aspect is we have a few more architectural controls on the actual buildings. When we were doing our early growth, late 80s, early 90s, and first buildings were coming up, we didn't have a whole lot of architectural standards in our codes, so we were trying to hide the buildings a little bit. which is not really conducive to, retail.
Right, right.
You need to be able to see them. So then, we start doing the upcutting, clearing out underneath as they mature, which has been effective. But there's been, board has seen several occasions over the years where people have come back and wanted to take down the mature trees and replant it. I think the Baker's Square did that before they changed to raising canes. So they had just come in and requested a replant, basically, and the village board granted that, just because the material had grown to such a level that it was blocking all the views into their building. So, not seeing a huge impetus, or anybody?
I don't know, balancing the visibility with the safety, and it just seems like there's a lot of factors to play in. I had not really paid attention on the main intersection at Grand and Hunt Club. I really like that you can see the businesses from a safety perspective, because I feel like if you're looking for something, you can spot it rather quickly and figure out which lane you need to be in. So there's times when it's advantageous as a driver, in my opinion, that things are super visible. And I agree with setting things back. I like the back 1/3 versus making it too dense. So keep the, you know what I mean? Shifting it back versus adding more plantings. That suggestion.
Yeah, I had scribbled a similar note. This, what if we just were, even in those 25-foot zones, if you have all the same rules, but you've got to keep it in an 8-foot strip. Whatever looks right on that thing. But I have a different question. This whole section of the code, is the purpose of the landscaping to create a visual barrier, or is it just to look nice and look consistent in different areas?
It's to soften the pavement, the impacts of parking. So it's kind of screen them, but not necessarily screen the building structure.
Not to hide something so much, it's just to soften it up a little.
If you
That's
look
a good
at our
example, I think, right there.
That is a great example.
If you look at our East Grand corridor, once you get past the 41 bridge, those are 1960 style developments. The parking lots are 5 feet from the sidewalk, which is 3 feet from the back of the curb, and it just not as an attractive look, just because you have all that pavement forward. So this just gives us a green buffer area, kind of soften that visual aesthetic.
But it's not to create a visual barrier.
It's not a visual barrier. It ended up being that with some of the plantings that were done. Menards is a perfect example. Menards chose to plant evergreens all the way around their site. And, before some of the more recent redevelopments out there, it was a visual barrier. You couldn't see Menards when you were driving down Grand Avenue. It's, with the redevelopments of some of those sites up there, they've been all replanted, but still a few evergreens out there. But we don't necessarily want to screen the buildings. Just kind of want to screen the parking areas and soften that as you're going down the main corridors.
That's helpful. And the other question I have, kind of reading the text of up here, got these comments like seemingly sparse landscape plantings, less than desirable effect, plantings feel much less. That all sounds very kind of fuzzy. Is there anything in the world of landscape architecture that's a bit more objective that we can throw out there?
And those were my words. So without telling you what to do, I wanted just to try to show that there's been a significant difference from our initial standards that we implemented when Gurnee was doing the big growth and where we are now. So it was kind of originated by Tracy and when she was here. She and I had some in-depth discussions, never came to an agreement on what should be presented. Like I said, it's been discussed internally for several years. So it's an opinion thing. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's just, if you believe, I'm wanting to call your attention to it. If you believe that it's okay, we'll leave it as is. If you believe that, hey, yeah, it is looking a little bit less than what it used to be and less than what it should be, then we can, try to address that by increasing those plant materials. It was just when we, realized looking at the code that we have now 3 times the amount of land area to plant the same amount of plantings, and what the developers are doing are shoving it to the corners and leaving large gaps in the middle, that's not really giving the intended effect of softening that landscape.
No, and I understand that. But I'm just wondering if instead of here's your choices of kind of the plantings, that if there was some sort of density factor, gotta be at least this plant per foot.
And that's what
something, I don't know what the right measurement is, but it can never be less than this density stuff.
Right. And that's what the plant unit options, it gives the landscape architect, some choices for plant materials and some flexibility. And that was a discussion that we had internally is, do we regulate, you have to put these materials, but at least one has to be every 25 feet. And that kind of goes against, the creativity by a landscape architect. You want to give them enough freedom that they can make something look nice. And, having a tree every 50 feet going down the roadway doesn't necessarily add to the aesthetics. It looks a little bit regimented. So I can appreciate, a landscape architect that has some creative design with a mix of heights and a mix of colors and a mix of, textures. I don't want to dictate too much. I want to leave some room for creative design within the code. But at the same point, I want to make sure that there's enough and that it's not getting lost within that 25-foot buffer.
Yeah, and I can certainly appreciate that as Shannon was flipping through the pictures of, just the different parts of town. You can see where it adds value, right? That softer transition from the road into the development and having the required either density of trees, shrubs, plantings makes a real difference up and down the Grand Avenue corridor as opposed to some of the other corridors that we have in town. It does.
I guess one of my questions, you saying that the developers just put all the plantings in on one end and leave it open. Is it because when you drive down Grand Avenue, you really can't see the buildings now? A lot of them you can't. I'm going I drove by the Wendy's on Grand Avenue, and it wasn't till I got right to the Wendy's that I could see Wendy's. I didn't know that there was a Target there until you got to the entrance of Target. The Dunkin' Donuts, just to be able to get out of the Dunkin' Donuts onto Grand Avenue, that area there's got landscaping blocking all that, and plus their sign with the little strip mall that's in there, you can't even see their sign. So is that the reason why they're planting the way they are? Because they're seeing what's there now and going well, my client wants to be able to advertise and see their building so that people can get to it and we can actually have more traffic going through it. So
they're trying to create view corridors from the main highways in. Yeah. And more power to them. That's, they're a retail business. They depend on that traffic to, make the ends meet. It's just it's a subjective standard, that we need to determine if we're fine where it's at, by those examples that I provided, or if we like kind of the look and feel of the older style where it was heavier. Because, the way we're planting now will never get you can't see the building. Yeah. It's much less what it was. And if that's okay with this board, that's okay.
I personally am okay with that, Dave, partially because of what you said. Over the last 30 years, we put a better emphasis on the quality of signs, quality of the architectural. All right.
Not feeling a big impetus from the board to make a major change, so at this point, we'll just kind of sit on it. And
Ask us.
I'll ask you again when the leaves fall off the trees.
Yeah, when the leaves fall.
Yes.
The timing's
Okay,
everything.
all right, thank you. Next meeting is scheduled for July 1st, and I understand we are having a meeting.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment for topics related to planning and zoning, but we're not on the agenda this evening. There being none, I'll close the floor to the public. Thank you, everyone. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved?
Moved by Campbell, second by Nordentoff. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Great first meeting. Great first meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Very.
On the architecture.
That's a long one, huh? Yeah.
This isn't the longest one. I think you know part of the 3 o'clock one. I've been a few past my.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
I suspect Brian will be on July 1st.
No.
Okay.
I sent that. I think I sent an email.
Listening to his headphones. My wife will be out of town, but my plan is.
Nice way to get baptized.
What, is it a, do you know what's on the agenda?
But my contact lenses are drying out too.
15.
I think we got points across that need to be done. Yeah, I almost said something about we discussed possibly increasing the height of those buildings and reducing.
You have to describe the product.
Okay.
Go down that path.
Far east side,
Well, like I said, you would have more green area. We like to use more sustainable products.
Okay, on the east side of town, way over on the. Okay, well, that shouldn't be too bad.
That was the only thing that I was.
Yeah, true. It depends on where it's going. And it depends on who. That's going to be the main trouble for that apartment complex. Heather is. Main problem for that apartment.
On the property.
Okay.
That it hasn't been.
I believe I'm here for, absolutely, and I believe the 15th I'm here.
Oh, yeah, well, that was.
Okay.
And is that unusual?